So what is MEcfs? Hi, I'm Nadia and I have suffered from MEcfs for the past 19 years. I also have fibromyalgia and a chronic back condition, which are unrelated, but they do all flare each other up. So MEcfs, it's the same thing, it's the same condition. And I thought I would do this video because in the years that I've lived with ME, I have gone from people saying, oh, you're just tired, which is quite a regular thing. That comes from the term chronic fatigue syndrome. People just think, oh, you're just tired. It's nothing like tiredness, and I'll go into that afterwards. ME, people get confused with MS, or they've never heard of it at all, and you have to constantly explain your condition. So what is ME? ME is a multi-system neurological disorder. So not to be confused with psychological. Neurological means brain, and so it affects your cognitive function. You may have heard the term brain fog, and that's why you get brain fog, because your cognitive function is compromised. So that could be retaining information, understanding information, doing something like a puzzle. You just get a blank. I'll probably do that quite a lot in this video. I've already had to record it about 10 times. And yeah, so brain fog is one of the things. You may have heard of fibro fog. That's slightly different because the fibro fog is actually caused by the chronic pain and the severity of the fatigue. It's not a neurological condition. It's a condition that affects the nervous system. But with ME, it is a multi-system neurological disorder, so it does affect also the nervous system. It also affects the immune system. It can affect the metabolism. It can affect gastric function. So I've suffered with gastric problems and had stomach ulcers and things like that. People get IBS and other like food intolerances and stuff that affect the gastric system. And people have problems with their metabolic rate, so they may have high or low blood pressure and get dizziness and something called POTS, which is to do with positioning. If you stand up, you get very dizzy and lightheaded, or you can just feel very unsteady or faint, get nausea and vertigo and things like that. You can also suffer with light sensitivity, noise and sound sensitivity, sensitivity to smell and taste, like so you might have certain things you can't eat when you're flaring, or even when you're not flaring. And it's a dynamic condition, so it fluctuates. So some days, like today, I'm having a relatively good day. I've had more pain in my back today, but that's a different condition. And I've had quite a bad headache this morning, which could be my fibro flaring. But for ME, it's been relatively a good day. And you could see me and think she's perfectly fine. But because it fluctuates, when you go into something called PEM, or you crash or have a flare-up, it's completely debilitating. For me, I can barely have a conversation, I can't watch television, I can't read a book, I can barely turn over in bed, I can barely lift a cup, I can barely lift my fork to my mouth and have the energy to chew. So there is that fluctuation, and it is dynamic, so it's a hidden disability. So the main symptoms of MEcfs are chronic pain, chronic fatigue, PEM, which I'll tell you about later, and unrefreshed sleep, which means, like, you know, I compare it to a phone battery that won't charge properly. You could sleep for 8 hours straight and wake up with little or no energy at all, feeling like you slept for 5 minutes. And it could take something as small as brushing your teeth or having a shower to make you flare and crash, or need to sleep and rest to do anything else that day, and that includes getting dressed. It can be something like a day at work, it can be a day out, and that can put you into PEM. So I say it can fluctuate, and it can be dependent on what severity of ME you have. So it goes from mild to very severe. Somebody with mild ME can probably work part-time, but would need to rest the rest of the time to either recover from working, have extra breaks at work, maybe do shorter hours, and have rest days in between. And they would probably be bedridden about between 30 and 50% of the time. Somebody on the other end of the scale with severe ME would be completely bedridden in a darkened room, being needing to be fed, or tube fed even, lost the ability to walk and be mobile, barely able to have a conversation, wouldn't be able to do anything at all without a lot of help from a carer. So yeah, there is a big scale there, and I'm moderate to severe. I go through different stages of the year where I'm severe. It depends on other factors that are happening in life. Stress and emotional and hormonal things can affect that, whether my fibro's flaring, and then other times of the year I'm moderate, which means I spend between 60 and 80% of the time bedridden. So yeah, there's a lot of different symptoms to it, but they're the main ones. As I say, it can affect all different systems of the body, and the way I describe the fatigue, it's not tiredness, it's not just general tiredness, it's chronic fatigue, and it's like a marathon runner. When you see a marathon runner, they're fine, they're running, they're able to walk. Okay, you don't know what pain they're in, but as they get and progress through the race, but they collapse completely at the end. Their legs are like jelly, they can barely speak. People have to hold them up for them to be able to walk because they're so weak and so fatigued. It's an extreme exhaustion, and that is what the chronic fatigue is like in a crash or in PEM for somebody with ME. Now, what is PEM? PEM is post-exertional malaise, and I think I've got a bit of brain fog there because I think I've already explained that. So that comes after physical or mental activity, just in case I haven't said it. And as I say, that can be something as simple as brushing your teeth, getting dressed, or it could be something big like a day out or a meal out with friends or an evening out. So it's a very complex condition. The reason why ME sufferers don't like the term chronic fatigue syndrome, it's very singular. Even though it's a syndrome, people don't really know what that means, and so they just hear the word "you're tired." And we need to raise awareness so that it's not thought of like that, because of that, people don't understand, well, you're just tired, just go to sleep. I get tired, you know, everybody gets tired, and it's not that at all. It is that complete exhaustion. And whereas for somebody without a chronic condition or without an energy limiting illness can just go to bed and have a good night's sleep and feel a bit better the next day, someone with ME, just from minor activity, can be in bed for days, weeks or months in order to recover from that. And also it's the way the mitochondria in the body store energy and create energy. They can't hold the energy, so it's a bit like a broken phone battery, where they might feel well 1 minute and then do something very small and their battery's down to 2%, and it takes ages for it to charge up to 100% again. If it ever gets to 100%, it might only ever get to 40% or 50%, and it quickly drops down again. And that's what life with ME is like. There's a lot more to it. I'm sure there's other things I've forgotten to say, but I've recorded this video about 10 times. But I hope it helps. And if you know someone with ME, or you have a friend with ME or a loved one with ME, then I hope this helps you understand it, because the biggest thing you can do for someone with ME is to be understanding of their condition and support them and understand what they're going through. It's not just normal tiredness. You know, we get normal tiredness like everybody does, like we get normal coughs and colds like everybody else does. But what it does to us is it puts us into a crash or a flare-up, and it takes us a much longer time to recover. And I say it can be weeks or months for a lot of us. So I hope that helps. If you're experiencing these symptoms, then do see your GP. It's a long process to get diagnosed. It's not an easy road. It can create other problems like depression and anxiety as well. So a lot of people with chronic illness suffer with that as well. So I hope this has been helpful. If there's anything I've left out, I'm sure I'll do another video in the future about other bits and pieces to do with ME. I've done another video about fibromyalgia and ME and the difference between the two, so have a watch of that. Give me a follow. Don't forget to give me a like, and if you want to go to my link tree, I have recommended some aids that help people with chronic illness, and that's in my link tree, which is in my bio somewhere around here. So if you click on this picture, under my picture in my bio is a link tree link. I also run a support service for people with chronic illness and a HR support for people with chronic illness, so all the links are in there. Thank you for listening. Please share this. Please help raise awareness for people with ME. Take care.